Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool arcade game repair video for you this evening. We've been working on this baby Pac-Man machine. If you haven't seen our previous video, go back and watch that. But basically, we started working through the boards. We got the MPU going. We checked our voltages. I had to order a chip here at U16. We're kind of waiting on that to come in to keep moving along with that. But next, we're going to start tackling this monitor. We're going to take that monitor out, put a cap kit in it, reflow, all that good stuff. And hopefully in the next day or two, we'll get our chip for the Vidiot board. And we'll be able to finally boot this thing up. But let's get that monitor out and get working on it. All right, I got the monitor board out. It had never been out of the cabinet before because the ground wire had never been cut. You pretty much have to do that to take it out. It's got all original caps. I checked the fuse already. So the fuse is good, which pretty much tells me that the flyback's probably good. And the horizontal output transistor is good. Usually if one of those two things are bad, the fuse will go. And one thing you got to check on these 4900s, 4800s. See how that says power there? They've got these little jumpers here from there to there, from there to there, from there to there. Sometimes you'll get bad solder on those and the power won't be getting through. That happens a lot. I've already checked those and they seem fine, but I reflowed them anyway. And this resistor here was really loose. You always have to reflow the big resistors like this because they're hanging in the cabinet, you know. And I guess the weight of them over the years will make them break loose. So anytime you have a big resistor like this on the board, you always have to reflow. These things are getting old now. And you always kind of inspect it for bad solder. I noticed there's a pretty bad solder joint over here on the voltage regulator. See this one here? I don't know if it's going to focus good enough. It's worse on this side, actually. See that ring around it? So you just have to look for spots like that. So I'm going to reflow this. Of course, I always reflow the header pin where the colors plug in. Red, green, blue, ground, sync. I always do these up here too. Those are the other sync wires. Sometimes you have your sync hooked up here. Sometimes you have it hooked up here. But just go ahead and reflow all 10 of those. And you got to change all the caps. Don't just change one cap. Go ahead and change all the caps. You can order a kit, a cap kit online. That'll have all the caps that you need. So I'm going to go through one at a time, change all these caps, reflow everything, and we'll put it back in there and see what happens. Got the monitor back in there, got everything hooked back up. Now let's see. Let's turn up the flyback, see if we got anything. Yep. So we fixed our monitor. And we don't have an image on it because that chip that we're waiting on actually has to do with the video. Remember, that's the Vidiot board. And that chip runs the display, apparently. So they say. So, we got the monitor working. We got the pinball part booted up. I don't know if it's going to coin up without that Vidiot board working. I don't think that it will. I don't think it'll fully boot unless you get all 6 flashes on this, the MPU, which we have, and you have to get 10 flashes on the Vidiot board before it'll fully boot. And if you look on that one chip that we're waiting on, it even says video. So, we're waiting on the video chip. Hopefully it'll be here in a few days, but we're working right through it. We're making pretty good progress. If that chip fixes that 9th flash, we'd be about home free, I think. But we'll see. All right. I got the package in there. Twisty Wrist Arcade. I wanted you guys to see me open it. I'm doing it live. Oh, come on. Now the peanut's gonna get everywhere. Well, just broke them. All right, I got the chips. I ordered 2 of them. I've actually got another baby Pac-Man in storage, but it's in a lot worse shape. All right. Got the chip out. Now we're going to put it in without even cutting the camera off. Hopefully, if I don't turn it off by mistake, taking it out of the tripod. We're still going. We're still going. All right. Now we're going to see if Clay was right. I went ahead and took this one out just so I could do it all in one take. Come on, baby. It's hard to get the chip in there with one hand. All right. I think we're good. And the door keeps wanting to close. All right. I think we're in there now. Notch is going up. You got to make sure that notch is going the right direction. They all have a notch going up. All right. So, here we go. There's our little LED. We're wanting 10 flashes, or at least more than 8. Remember, we had 8 before. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, come on. Wow, that stinks. It must be one of the chips that drives that. All right, so we're back to this Vidiot board. And if you watched the previous video, I was thinking I wasn't getting the 9th flash, which would have meant U16 was bad. So when Ronnie was editing the video, you know, he edits all this stuff together. He noticed that the 8th flash wasn't going off on the LED. So even though it was lighting up 8 times, it doesn't really count that 8th flash till it goes off, is what he said. So I need to go back to the 8th flash. So I need to see what Clay says about the 8th flash. But I'll show you what it's doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See how it's staying on? Yeah, well, apparently it doesn't count that 8th flash till it goes off. So we're hanging up on the 8th flash instead of the 9th flash like I thought. So let's go see what Clay says about that. 8th flash. The 6809 CPU chip at U8 attempts to test the PIA chip at U7. If the PIA is good, the 8th LED flash is shown. If there is no 8th LED flash, the PIA at U7 is bad. So, remember we were thinking we were down here, but we need to step back to go back to the 8th flash because that's not turning off. So, we're going to check out U7. All right, there's U7. 6821. So we're going to take that one out and swap it, and we'll try it again. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, buddy. We're going to make that money. Let's see if it booted up. Oh, Lord. Well, my monitor's going crazy. I might be able to adjust all that out, but we'll just see if it coins up or does anything. Well, it's trying to do stuff. Did you see my... It started a game because it tried to do the drop targets up there. My sync's off. I think I better start adjusting this monitor to see what it says. All right, so I started adjusting it. You can see that it's actually up on the screen. So we're booted and everything. But my sync, I don't have any sync. That's why it's going at an angle like that. And I can't adjust it out. So it's got those junk displacement connectors on it, on the monitor. And they come all the way over, down. And it plugs right into the Vidiot board here. So I must have a bad connection on here. So I guess I'm gonna repin that connector and the one on the monitor also. See if that does it. So I was getting ready to change the connector and see how it's going in and out. I noticed this Vidiot board has a sync adjustment right there. And if you play around with this pot, it'll snap in and out. And these pots are junk. They're just bad quality. So I'm gonna take this board out and change that sync pot. I may have to change some of these other ones too. We'll see how that goes. But you saw it on the screen a minute ago. It's working. So we're getting there. All right, I got the board back out. It's my sync pot there. I'm going to change. I think I'm going to go ahead and change all these. And they're all different sizes though. I know the sync one is a 10K ohm. The green looks like it's a 10K ohm. I'm going to change this volume down here, which is a 1K. And I think I'm going to go ahead and change a few more of these caps too. Remember those two that blew up that first time over here? I noticed there's a few other ones around, so I'm going to change those too. Try it again. So we're going to change all the pots and a few more of the caps. We've already went through and reflowed all the connectors. I've already cleaned all the chips. So we're getting pretty close. We just need to kind of go through and do a little bit more preventative stuff, I think. I've got all these pots up here, different sizes. So there's my 1K ones. There's the 10K ones. Stuff like that. So I'm gonna go through, knock it out. All right. I put 5 new pots on it. And I went ahead and changed the rest of those caps. Those are the ones that caught on fire in the beginning of the first video, if you didn't watch that one. So I think we're going to put it back in and try to get the monitor all dialed in.
Well, what have we here? Joey has gotten our baby Pac-Man running, and he has cleaned up the playfield a little bit. And we're going to touch it up just a little bit. Now you may notice this whole thing's pretty dark. So like up in these top corners, you can't really see it even that much. So if we're looking for wear, this thing is actually in pretty nice shape. There are some burn marks right there. I don't know if he mentioned that, but I have no clue what that came from. That is really strange. They're perfectly round. I wonder if for years and years there were some rubber rings sitting there that were outgassing or something weird, and it kind of scorched the paint and the wood. I don't know. I don't know what would cause that. It's perfectly round, and it almost looks like it moved over time. And that will not clean off, so I don't know what that is. So we're going to leave that. Now you could sand that down and restain it and all that, or re-clear it. I'm not going to mess with that. There's a little bit of wear there But I think what we'll do is clear over that, just to make it where it won't get any worse. The stuff like this is just the post is going to cover it. You won't even see it. So we've got a little bit of wear here in the middle around the arrows, where if we touch up the black, it'll make it look a lot better. There's just the slightest little bit of wear right there. Again, if you touch up the black, it'll hide most of that. Same thing here. That's not really all black, but it's dark enough that if you did it black, it would look great. Just a little bit in the maze, like around the 2 and the 3 and the 4 there. This looks pretty good over here. There's something going on there. I don't know that we'll worry about that too much, but maybe. And then there's a little tiny bit of wear here on the baby, and that is kind of right where you're looking. So maybe we draw the black lines back in on that and then see if we can touch it up a little bit. A little tiny bit of wear on the stork. So we're going to touch it up just a little bit with acrylic paint, and then we're going to clear over it to protect it. There's a little bit of wear here. I don't know that I can do anything with that. I mean, I can, but I don't know that I can easily do anything with that. We might try our smear technique if we do the blue. We don't really need blue, though. I guess a little bit would work. We'll just see what we can do. I'm not concerned with making it look brand new. It looks pretty good already. I would say cleaned up, that would be like a 7. You know, if we could get rid of this and this, it would make it much nicer. So we'll see what we can do. So the first thing I'm going to do, we've cleaned it all up. All of the wax has basically been taken off of it, but with the magic eraser that Joe used. We've got it pretty clean, and I'm going to take a black acrylic paint pen and draw the black lines back in, basically like a big coloring book, just to make it everything. That alone will make it look a lot better. Like, for instance, this spot up here, that wear. Well, the black's worn away, and a little bit of the yellow's worn away. But if you draw the black back in, your eye will kind of fill in the yellow. So you don't really need to touch up the yellow, even though it's missing a little bit. And it's just a thing. Okay, so I'm gonna draw some of the lines back in. We'll see if we can get it looking better just from that. All right, so I've got a black acrylic paint pen, Posca, Uni Posca brand. Of course, we would have that right in there in the middle of the game where you can't get to it too easy. Might be a better idea to take it out to work on it. A little better. It's one of those things too where you can make that even straighter if you touch up the yellow. You could get that line perfect where it's bleeding a little bit because of the texture of the wood. You can put paint on it and tape on it too and do it. But the problem I've usually had with that is that the ink bleeds under the paint. But it just depends on how much effort you want to put into it, I guess. One of the things I've noticed is that whenever you do this, you are going to be much more critical on yourself than people that don't know that you did anything. So you just saw me do that, and so whenever you look at this, you're going to look for that, and you're going to say, oh, look, the line's not quite perfect up there. It's not quite right, because you know it's there. But if somebody doesn't know it's there, and I've proven this over and over again, if somebody doesn't know that it's there, they don't even see it, you know. So, because it just looks like a little bit of wear. So I'm going to ink in some more of the black here in the middle. I'm literally just going around with the light shining on from under it and inking in the black areas that are worn away. Now, if you're doing this all over the playfield, you're going to have to clear coat the playfield, especially since we're using this acrylic paint. The reason I use acrylic is because when you clear coat over it, it doesn't run, because the catalyst in the clear coat spray paint doesn't react badly with the acrylic paint. if you use a oil-based paint, it depends on how it's made. Any kind of oil, the clear is not going to stick to, which is why you got to get all the wax off the playfield before you clear it. So we don't even show people us clearing it because we don't want people to just go start spray painting it on their playfield. Like if you've got this one little spot to touch up and you do that, and then you go get clear coat and spray paint on it, you're going to make the biggest mess you've ever seen in your life. Because all of the wax on the playfield, and most of them have been waxed, you know, a dozen times, maybe more if they were actually taking care of the machine. These older ones at least, it was very common to wax the playfield. They even suggested it from the manufacturers. So if you spray paint over wax, it just bubbles up and you get all these little orange peel, they call it, or whatever, or fish eyes, they call it. You get all these fish eyes on it that just look horrible. And you end up with a big mess that you can't easily repair. So we don't even show people us doing that because we want to make sure that you have to listen to us before you do it. You've got to get all the wax off the playfield. We did that because we used the magic eraser to get all the wax off the playfield. You can use naphtha or whatever you use to clean it up, but the way we do it, we're always working on playfields that are heavily worn. We scrub it down with the magic eraser. That takes all the wax off of it. It kind of dulls it a little bit. You're basically, that magic eraser is basically like sandpaper. You're kind of sanding the finish down a little bit, which is one of the reasons it looks clean. Once you've got that, then you can spray a clear coat over it and you won't have any issues. And for clear coat, we just use a rattle can spray paint. We like satin finish. Some people use gloss. I think it doesn't look like the original finish if you use gloss. I think the original finish is more of a satin finish, so I just use that. But that's what we do. So I'm going to go through and touch up some more of the black, and then we'll move on to the next color. Okay, so I've inked in the black. Got it looking pretty good. That helped a lot, didn't it? I think so. There was a real bad one over there. And this is what I use. Posca. Get you some of these. Let me see if I can show you. Look at that. Made by Mitsubishi, actually. In France. And it uses Japanese ink. Made in Japan. I love it. So, if we can get it to focus. So, if you want this specific type, we've got them on our website. You can order them. We use black. There's other colors too, but you know, usually nothing's going to match except black. Even white is not going to match. This originally probably was white. I guess that is. Yeah, it's about the same color. So if you got a new white, it just wouldn't work for this, what we're doing here, because the original color has faded. So whenever you match it, you're not really matching a solid primary color. You're matching a faded version. The exception is black. It usually pretty much looks black. It's slightly different, but your eye can't really pick it up. Like you can't see where I touched up on that maze. All right, so I think next we will touch up the yellow a little bit. There's just a little tiny sliver here, barely there. And I might be able to straighten up that line up there just barely with a little bit of yellow. Yellow is like one of the hardest colors to match because it's so thin and your eye can just see that it's different. With that said, in this instance, since we're only doing the very smallest little part, I mean, you could get away with not even doing that. Since we're just doing a little teeny part of it, it's going to be hard for your eye to catch the difference in it. I'll also mention, like I always mention, this paint on these playfields, what's happened to it is the red has faded over the years. So the red in the paint has faded away, and the opposite of red is green. So whenever you take red away, it makes everything look slightly more green. So there is actually red on the playfield. So it's not completely gone or anything, but it's just not as red as it would have originally been. Also, the blue has less red in it than it originally would have had. Same with the yellow. Everything is slightly more green than it originally was. You can kind of tell. If you've got a good eye for color, you can tell that's not really yellowed, that's more green. Right? So everything is kind of greened out a little bit. So whenever you match a color, if you lean towards the green side, like if you get a yellow that looks similar, if you put just a little bit of green in it, it'll probably make it even look better, more like the faded paint on the Playfield. So I'm going to try to mix up some yellow or get something out of the bottle that's close enough, and we'll touch up literally those two little spots and then on to the next color. All right, folks. Now keep in mind, you're going to be playing this at a distance. So this is as close as you can actually even get to that drop target back there. You're never going to get closer than that. If I go all the way down to where the glass is going to be, and then we imagine that thing's back in there where it goes, you're going to be this is about as close as you can get with the glass on it. You tell me what you think. I think it's pretty decent. All right, and then the one up here you can get much closer to because it's going to be right here, and the glass is right there. So you can get pretty close to this one. What do you think? Much better, I think. So I had a golden yellow that right out of the bottle is almost a perfect match. Can you tell that that's a little green? Can you tell that? So that's yellow, but it's kind of a greenish yellow, a little bit. So that's why I picked that one, and then I held it up to it, and it looked pretty close, and so I did it. I think that's pretty good. And again, you have the thing where you and I know it's there. Other people don't know it's there. If they go looking for stuff, they might find it, but probably not. Similarly, I think I'm going to leave the blue that's missing beside those arrows because there's a little bit of problems with blue here and there. And those arrows, this is how I think about this stuff. First of all, I'm not capable of getting it perfect. So you can just throw that right out the window when you start. You're probably not either. Some of you are, but most of you aren't. I'm not capable of getting it perfect. So there's an art to knowing when to stop. Do so much. When you get to the limit of where it's going to make it noticeably better, stop. Just leave it. So think about what's going on here. And you have to think about, you have to look at it with fresh eyes. You can't look at it like with a critical eye where you're trying to fix every little thing. This is a big problem people have. I've seen people, they'll take a pinball machine and completely restore it. And what they'll do is they'll replace everything with brand new if they can get brand new. But the problem with brand new, and I'm not saying this to insult anybody, because, you know, that my whole point is I'm not perfect. You know, I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not saying this to insult anybody, but reproduction, artwork, parts, it's almost never as good as the original stuff. And you can tell that it's a reproduction. You can tell that it's a brand new part almost every freaking time. So if you need the brand new part, yeah, put it on there. Thank God you've got it. But if you don't need the brand new part and the thing you got's like a 9 or an 8, just leave it. Don't put new stuff on everything whenever it's vintage games. Now, if you've got a brand new game and you've got a broken plastic, yeah, put a new plastic on it. But anyway, my whole point is you got to kind of know where to stop. So look what we've got going on here. There's a lot of blue, and then there's white everywhere. And when you look at this, you don't go, there is a blue line with a black outline around a green arrow. There are white lettering that says 2000. You don't see that. Whenever you look at it, you just go, oh, look, cool. Oh, there's baby Pac-Man. Oh, there's the red ghost. Or the pink ghost, purple ghost, whatever. There's the red ones over there. That's how your brain thinks. You go, oh, look, there's fruit up there. Oh, yeah, I remember the fruit from the game. What's that say? 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000. If there's a little white line beside the arrow, you don't even notice that because it looks like some of the other white stuff that's going on. Like, look how the 6 seconds, look how bad I screwed that up. Look. Oh, look at that. It's supposed to say 6 seconds in black, and then I've got white paint all around it where I didn't get the blue all the way up to it. Well, you know that that's nonsense. I didn't paint that. But that's how the design is. The design is there's a black lettering with some white behind it that's kind of sloppily done. Well, who's to say that there isn't white behind the left side of that arrow? Your mind is not going to... People are not even going to notice that that's where. They're going to have no idea that that's where, even though it's not on the 2000. All of this stuff has a registration as well, and the registration's always off. So the arrows are a good example. It's printed closer to the left than the right. Like the arrows aren't quite centered because it didn't line up perfect. And there's stuff going on like that all over the place. It's just not perfect. So like that light there is not centered in that brown, in that. Right? Over here, it's too far to the right than the left. There's crap like that all over the playfield. If there's one little thing, if you want to go through the trouble to try to touch it up, go for it. That's kind of borderline there. But if I get that blue far off, you're going to see a blue line, a blue line, and a blue line, and nothing else has a blue line. It's going to stick out to you. This has some little white lines, like the white dots, the white wing, the white lettering on the arrow. So you got to just think about what you're doing. You know, if you don't do everything that it's possible to do, you're going to end up with a big mess that looks like you've touched it all up. If you look at this one right now, you can't tell I've touched anything up. You can't tell, because I haven't touched hardly anything up. All I did was touch up all the black ink and a little bit of the yellow. You know, so we're still in that stage where it looks better than it did, and you can't tell that I did it. So that's how I look at it. Now, the only thing I'm going to do is I got to mess with that pink, because that doesn't look quite right. So I do want to fix that. So I'm going to see if I've got a pink that's even close to that. Pink is notoriously hard to match. Again, it's a really thin pigment, so whenever you go to paint it on, it's not going to cover very well. But we'll see. We'll see what kind of pink I've got. Now here is the acrylic paint that I used, golden yellow. This stuff is like $1 a bottle. You can get it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And it's acrylic. That's what's important, because you want to be able to spray paint over it with just regular clear coat. You can also use the Max 2K stuff if you want to use the two-stage stuff or whatever that's called. That works just fine. And it's actually better than using rattle can paint because it's a much harder finish. But it's more like a automotive clear coat because it's two-stage. And if you want the pins, I mentioned they're on our website. Our website's lionsarcade.com. There's a link down below. And we've got all kinds of stuff on there that we use whenever we do repairs. You can check out some of our things that we use. There's links to Amazon on there. If you follow that link, maybe you follow the link over and you look at these pins and you say, wait a minute, those things are damn near $3 a piece. I'm not paying that. That's highway robbery. But while I'm on here, I think I'll buy a new jukebox for myself. And you spend $10,000 on a jukebox. Well, since you followed our link to Amazon, anything you buy on Amazon for the short period of time after that, it gives us a percentage of. So we appreciate everybody that's been doing that. We've even had some people, now you're not even going to believe this. We have had some people that just bookmark our link to Amazon, since it has our little code in the URL or whatever. And then every time they go to Amazon, they're going through our code, and we get a piece of their purchase that they buy on Amazon. Can you believe that people would be so nice? But some people have been, so we appreciate that. All right, so let me see if I got any kind of pink. That's a weird-looking pink. I don't know. It almost looks like our good old friend Razzleberry. But I don't think it's quite Razzleberry. So I'll see what we've got and see if we got anything close to that. Razzleberry it is. It was Razzleberry, but it wasn't. It was a little bit lighter than Razzleberry. So what I did was I took some pink that was a little lighter. So the pink was too light and the Razzleberry was too dark. I mixed them together until I got something pretty similar. And then put it on. So you can see the texture difference, the sheen difference. See, like that? You can see where I've done it. But if you don't take that into account, it's pretty close. So my rule of thumb on something like this is, if you can't get it exact, and you know, you might be able to get it exact if you keep messing with it, but it's so close that I'm not so sure I can move it just slightly like that. So it's like 1% off, something like that. It's a little bit too purple, just barely. You can barely see it. So my rule of thumb is, If it's slightly darker than it's supposed to be, I leave it, and that's where it is. It's just slightly darker than it's supposed to be. If it's lighter than it's supposed to be, you will notice it. Your eye will catch it. But if it's darker than it's supposed to be, I just run with it. If it's close. And to me, that's pretty close. I don't think most people are going to notice it. You've got wear here. You know, your eye is already conditioned where you're going to see that the thing has a little bit of wear. You're never going to notice that that's slightly darker than it's supposed to be. I would bet you 9 out of 10 people, you could say, hey, did you see where I touched up the paint on the Playfield? They would not notice that in the first couple minutes. They'd have to really look. As a matter of fact, I don't think they'd notice anything. I don't think they'd be able to tell where I've touched it up. They may eventually find that. I think that's it's a little more off than that is. But I guess we'll see better after we clear it. But yeah, I'm done. I'm just going to leave it like this. So I think we started, what did I say? I thought it was a 7 when we started. I really do think it's an 8 now. So we just moved it up just a little bit, made it a little bit nicer. I'm not sure that it's possible to get it to a 9. You could touch up this blue, but the problem with that is going to be you're going to be able to tell that it was touched up. So we're going to run with this. Another thing I should mention, and I kind of talked about it earlier, the Playfield is so busy. There's so much art and shapes and dots and stuff and clouds, like all these little clouds and figures and like, you know, like I mentioned with the white over here. Look at that net. That's all drawn by hand, and that's not perfect. It has inconsistencies, and it's thicker and thinner and all that. People get so caught up in trying to make everything perfect when on a lot of this stuff, it doesn't need to be perfect. Nobody's ever going to be able to tell. You know, if I ask somebody, hey, did you see where I repainted the Playfield? They might say, oh yeah, did you do the net? Because it's not quite right. Right? It's just somebody's line art. Since this isn't geometric shapes, it's all kind of just hand-drawn looking stuff. If you get it a little off, most of it people aren't going to notice. So that's my excuse, and I think we did good work here. We just touched up the stuff that was blatantly, obviously wrong, and we're going to roll with that. So I'm going to clear it. Joey will come back and wax it and put all the stuff back on it. Now you may notice that some of the light bulbs are out and stuff. The reason for that is because, well, I guess those turn back on. We wait till we wax it and then we change all the light bulbs, because basically you're going to get wax all over the bulbs whenever you do it. So I'll clean up and we'll see what Joe can do for us. So this is what we're starting with before the clear.
Playfield finished up. It's working. Ronnie did a good job on touching up the Playfield. I couldn't really even tell, really. I see that. I knew it was there, you know. If you didn't know it was there, you'd probably never see it. But anyway, I think that's probably going to do it for this video. We got the game working. And in the next video, we're going to do one more video. We're going to finish up the cosmetics, so I'm going to clean this up. May end up painting the yellow again, I'm not sure. I like to paint the black on the inside, make it look a little bit better. Put the bezel on, and then probably pass it off to Ronnie. He can do the little light bulbs, and I'm sure it's going to have some problems. The drop targets ain't quite right, and there'll be some odds and ends stuff that we got to tinker with. But anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.